Hey, Stoic warrior, we live in a world where people are constantly trying to prove something. They prove they're right. They prove they're worthy. They explain, over-explain, and sometimes even beg just to be seen. But the Stoic doesn't do that. A Stoic doesn't beg for attention. A Stoic doesn't chase validation. A Stoic doesn't explain himself to the world because he knows something that most people don't. Silence is strength. Now, here's the truth about most people. When they're hurt, rejected, or misunderstood, they rush. They chase. They try to fix what's broken by pouring out explanations to people who have already decided not to understand. That right there is weakness disguised as courage. Think about it. You call someone and they don't pick up. You text again. You message again. You pour your heart into a long paragraph hoping they'll finally see your worth. But here's the brutal reality. The more you explain, the more you beg, the more power you give away. That's not Stoic. That's not strength. The great Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus mastered the power of silence. Not because they didn't care, but because they understood this. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Epictetus. When you chase someone's attention or beg for their understanding, you're handing over your control. You're saying, my peace depends on how you respond. But that's not peace, that's prison. Real strength is when someone disrespects you, and you walk away without a word. Not out of pride, not out of ego, but because your dignity doesn't scream, doesn't chase, doesn't explain. It silently detaches. And here's the paradox. This silence terrifies people. Because when you don't react, they lose the control they thought they had over you. So today, we're diving deep into 6 powerful truths about silence, the Stoic superpower that allows you to live with strength, dignity, and peace. Truth 1. Silence makes them feel your absence more than your words. Have you ever noticed what happens when you stop explaining yourself? When you stop chasing people? Suddenly they start thinking. That's the paradox of silence. It doesn't push, it pulls. Think about the last time you were hurt. Maybe someone ghosted you. Maybe they disrespected you. Or maybe they gave you the cold shoulder. Your instincts probably screamed, say something, defend yourself, fight back. But here's what you don't realize. The more you talk, the less they listen. The more you chase, the more they run. The more you explain, the less they value your words. Yet when you go silent, they notice. Suddenly your absence speaks louder than your presence ever did. Albert Hubbard once said, he who does not understand your silence will probably not understand your words. Silence makes people uncomfortable in ways that noise never can. When someone expects you to beg, but you don't when they expect you to react, but you force them to confront themselves, silence holds up a mirror. It says, I saw what you did. I felt how you treated me. But I value myself too much to explain it to you. And that's the power. If they cared, they'd ask. If they respected you, they'd reach out. If they were emotionally mature, they wouldn't need paragraphs to recognize your worth. By staying silent, you reclaim the power you once gave away. You stop wasting energy, trying to be understood by people who don't even understand themselves. You stop leading in conversations that will never heal you. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Because silence triggers people. It confuses them. It makes them ask questions like, why isn't he reacting? Why didn't she respond? Did they stop caring? That's when the power shifts. Because silence speaks one truth they cannot ignore. You don't owe them an explanation, not anymore. Truth 2. Silence helps you hear the truth louder. We live in a noisy world. Social media, notifications, endless advice from friends. Pressure to always respond, explain, react. But silence is where the truth lives. Most people, when betrayed or hurt, run to others for advice. They call 5 friends, scroll endlessly on TikTok, or even confront the one who hurt them. They look for answers outside themselves, but the Stoic does something radically different. He goes silent, not because he doesn't feel pain, but because he knows real answers come from reflection, not noise. Marcus Aurelius said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. When you get silent, truly silent, your mind calms down. And when the mind calms down, truth rises to the surface. You start hearing things like, they never respected me. I just didn't want to accept it. I'm not angry because they left. I'm angry because I stayed too long. I don't need closure. I need peace. These truths don't come in text messages. They don't come in long explanations. They come in the stillness of silence. Silence creates space between your emotions and your values. Because when you're hurt, your emotions scream. Chase them. Explain yourself. Prove your worth. But when you're silent, your values whisper. Hold your dignity. Protect your peace. Let them go. This is why the Stoics didn't react quickly. They didn't make decisions in anger. They embraced what I call sacred stillness, a pause before the storm. Modern society teaches the opposite. Speak your truth. Confront them. Defend yourself. But here's what most people don't realize. You don't gain respect by reacting louder. You gain it by being grounded in silence while others spiral in noise. The more silent you are, the more people reveal themselves. You don't have to ask, do they care? Their actions will show you. You don't have to beg for clarity. The truth comes out in your stillness. Silence isn't passive, it's intentional. It's the doorway to wisdom most people never open. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, rejected, or confused, don't act. Don't speak. Be still. The answers you're searching for are already inside you, and you'll hear them in silence. Truth 3. Begging for closure is self-betrayal. Now, let's get real about something few people admit. Closure. Everyone craves it. That final explanation. That one honest conversation. The ending that feels complete. But here's the brutal truth. If someone truly cared, you wouldn't have to beg for closure. They'd give it to you with respect. And if they don't, your silence is the closure. Epictetus once said, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. When you stop chasing closure and start embodying your values, you stop needing people to validate your pain. Here's the painful cycle most people get trapped in. 1. They hurt you. 2. You demand answers. 3. They respond with coldness, avoidance, or manipulation. 4. You feel worse, and the cycle repeats until you realize closure isn't something they give you. It's something you give yourself. Real closure comes when you accept. What they gave was the most they could give. No explanation will make them more loving or respectful. The conversation you're chasing will never happen. And in that acceptance, you regain power. Because the truth is, the people who hurt you don't need to understand your worth. You do. The people who left don't need to say goodbye. You can say it in silence. The people who ghosted don't need a second chance. Your silence is their answer. Stop writing those unsent letters. Stop rehearsing the perfect text. Stop waiting for closure in people who were never open in the first place. Go silent and let that silence be the space where your self-respect finally breathes again. And before we continue, let me ask you one thing. If this message already resonates with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. One small action from you could be the seed of someone else's transformation. Now, let's begin. Truth 4. Silence exposes what words try to hide. Words are powerful. They can build nations, inspire revolutions, and heal wounds. But words can also be deceptive. People say what sounds right. They tell you what they think you want to hear. They use excuses, apologies, and justifications to cover their true intentions. But silence? Silence never lies. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say." This is why Stoics placed little weight on apologies or promises. They judged people by patterns, not by speeches. And the best way to see a person's pattern is simple. Stop talking and watch. Because here's what happens when you go silent. The one who truly respects you will reach out with sincerity. The one who only used you will vanish because the benefits are gone. The one who manipulated you will grow angry, not because you hurt them, but because they lost control. That's the secret most people never realize. Words can create illusions, but silence reveals reality. Think about it. When you stop explaining, you stop giving others the opportunity to twist your words. When you stop reacting, you stop feeding their games. When you step back, you see who shows up and who disappears. It hurts, yes, but it's also clarity. And clarity is freedom. Sometimes silence is harsher than confrontation because people can dismiss your words, but they can't dismiss your absence. So don't argue. Don't plead. Don't try to force people to reveal who they are. Just go quiet. Let their actions or their silence do all the speaking. That's not avoidance. That's Stoic discernment. Truth 5. Not explaining yourself is the highest form of confidence. Let's be honest. It's natural to want to defend yourself when misunderstood. It's natural to want to say, "That's not me. You don't get it. Let me explain." But here's the truth. Explaining yourself to people who already judged you isn't confidence, it's insecurity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors, unless with a view to some mutual benefit." Think about what that means. Every time you try to convince someone of your worth, your goodness, your intentions, you're wasting the most valuable currency you have, time. Explaining yourself doesn't build respect. It only shows that you care more about their perception than your own peace. The person who doesn't explain himself isn't cold. He isn't arrogant. He's simply at peace. He knows his values. He knows his intentions. And he knows his worth doesn't depend on someone else's approval. This doesn't mean you never clarify misunderstandings. It means you don't waste energy convincing people who don't want to understand you. Because here's the truth. Most people don't want to see you clearly. They want to control how you're perceived. And when you refuse to play that game, when you choose silence instead of endless explanations, you break their control. At first, people may call you cold. They may label you selfish. They may even walk away. But losing people who never valued you isn't loss, it's alignment. Confidence is quiet. In fact, silence is the purest confidence. Because when you no longer feel the need to explain, defend, or prove yourself, you've already won. Truth 6. Detachment in silence teaches lessons words never could. Now we reach perhaps the most powerful truth of all. Silence isn't just a shield. It's a teacher, because when you walk away quietly, not in anger, not in drama, but in calm detachment, you deliver a lesson no argument ever could. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Think about how this connects to silence. When you detach and stop responding, people are left alone with their own thoughts. They begin replaying your absence in their minds. They wonder why you didn't react. They question whether you've truly moved on. And that's when the lesson begins. You don't have to scream, "Respect me." Your silence teaches it. You don't have to shout, "I'm done." Your detachment proves it. You don't have to explain why you walked away. Your absence explains everything. Most people expect drama. They expect you to beg, to fight, to chase. When you don't, they lose control. And losing control terrifies them. That's the paradox. Your silence doesn't just free you. It forces them to face themselves. Whether they change or not is irrelevant. The lesson wasn't for them. It was for you. Because in silence you learn, not everyone deserves an explanation. Peace is more valuable than connection. Walking away quietly is more powerful than staying loudly. This is Stoicism at its core. Detachment isn't about lack of love, it's about clarity. It's about caring too much about your own soul to keep it trapped where it isn't valued. You don't have to prove you're done. You don't have to perform your boundaries. You simply live them. And that's why Stoic silence is terrifying to those who depended on your reactions. The silent transformation? By now, you can see silence isn't avoidance, it's presence. It's being so deeply grounded in who you are that you no longer need the noise of explanations, validations, or arguments. When you're silent, you're not weaker. You're stronger. You're not colder. You're clearer. You're not detached from love, you're detached from chaos. And that's why Stoic silence is a superpower. It's the kind of energy that builds peace inside you and commands respect outside you. So as we continue, remember this. Your silence doesn't just protect you. It transforms you. It becomes your greatest ally in a world addicted to noise. Truth 7. Silence is the medicine most people avoid. Pain makes people restless. When they're betrayed, disrespected, or abandoned, their instinct is to move quickly, argue, seek closure, distract themselves, or chase external validation. But here's the paradox. The more you run from your pain, the longer it stays. The more noise you create, the less you hear what your soul is trying to tell you. Silence, though uncomfortable, is medicine. When you sit in silence after heartbreak, you begin to process the pain without drowning in it. You allow the wound to breathe. You let the truth surface. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now." Silence helps you do exactly that. It helps you step back from the narrative your emotions are writing, so you can see reality clearly, instead of asking, "Why did they hurt me?" Silence allows you to ask, "Why did I stay where I wasn't valued?" Instead of asking, "Why didn't they respect me?" Silence allows you to ask, "Why did I accept disrespect?" And in these questions lies healing, because healing doesn't come from answers people give you. Healing comes from answers you find in yourself. Yes, silence is uncomfortable. It feels like emptiness at first. But the longer you sit with it, the more it becomes clarity and eventually peace. Truth 8. Silence builds discipline over impulse. One of the greatest strengths of Stoicism is self-control. To not be a slave to your impulses, but to master them. Most people fail here. When insulted, they lash out. When ghosted, they chase. When misunderstood, they over-explain. They react instantly, without thinking. But silence interrupts this pattern. It creates a pause between emotion and action. Epictetus said, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master." He can anger you only when you permit yourself to be disturbed by him. Think about that. Every time you react quickly, you're giving someone else the keys to your peace. You're letting their actions dictate your emotions, but when you choose silence, you're choosing mastery. You're training yourself to hold your ground, even when your emotions scream at you to react. That's discipline. And discipline is freedom, because in silence you learn to respond, not react. You learn that not every insult requires an answer. Not every disrespect deserves your energy. Not every misunderstanding needs your voice. This is why Stoics saw silence not as weakness, but as strength. It's the ability to hold power inside you without needing to spend it recklessly. So the next time you feel the urge to react, pause, breathe, go silent. Remember, every second you hold back is a second you reclaim control. Truth 9. Silence builds inner authority no one can take. At its core, Stoicism is about sovereignty, the ability to rule yourself no matter what the world throws at you. And silence is the foundation of that sovereignty. Because here's the truth. The world will always misunderstand you. People will misjudge you, doubt you, reject you, even slander you. If your peace depends on defending yourself every time, you'll live as a slave to opinion. But when your silence grows into authority, when you know who you are so deeply that you don't need external validation, you become untouchable. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "It is not worth your while to let your mind be distracted by what others do and say." That's inner authority. That's self-ownership. When you practice silence, you train yourself to listen more to your own conscience than to other people's noise. You stop bending to their opinions. You stop begging for their approval. You stop fearing their judgment. Instead, you develop a quiet confidence that radiates without explanation. People feel it in your presence. They sense it in your energy. And here's the paradox. The less you explain, the more powerful you appear. The quieter you are, the louder your authority speaks. Because true power doesn't beg to be recognized. It simply is the healing discipline of silence. By now, you can see that silence is more than just a response. It's a practice, a healing practice, a discipline, a philosophy. When you sit in silence, you heal. When you hold silence in conflict, you gain discipline. When you carry silence through life, you build authority. And that's why silence is not emptiness, it's fullness. It's the fullness of self-respect, of self-control, of inner peace. Most people think they'll find strength in louder words, bigger arguments, and longer explanations. But the Stoic knows the opposite. True strength is in saying less and being more. But before we continue, let me remind you, if this video has spoken to you, don't just watch in silence. Hit the like button right now, subscribe for more Stoic wisdom every week, and share this with someone who needs it. Your action helps spread a message the world desperately needs. Silence, when mastered, becomes your legacy. It becomes the story people tell about you, the presence they feel even in your absence, the echo that lingers long after you've walked away. Let's break it down. Truth 10. Silence terrifies those who once controlled you. The people who mistreated you, underestimated you, or disrespected you. What they expect is noise. They expect you to chase, to beg, to argue, to explain. When you give them silence instead, you disrupt the script. At first, they may laugh, thinking you're weak. But deep down, silence unsettles them. Because silence is the ultimate proof that you're no longer controlled. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." And nothing is braver than walking away without a word. Your silence tells them, you have no power over me. My peace doesn't live in your hands. My worth doesn't need your approval. And that terrifies them. Because once they realize they can't provoke you, they can't guilt you, they can't control you, they lose you completely. Truth 11. Absence becomes louder than presence. Silence doesn't just end conversations. It begins echoes. When you're gone, your absence speaks for you. People replay the last things you said or didn't say. They wonder what you're thinking. They imagine what you're doing, and in that mystery lies power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In silence, you stop explaining. You stop defending. You stop proving. You simply be, and that being echoes far louder than anything you could say. Think of it like this. When you disappear into silence, you force others to confront themselves, to reflect on how they treated you, to question what they lost, to feel the emptiness your presence once filled. And here's the paradox. Your silence speaks every day they wonder where you went. That is absence made powerful. Truth 12. Living in silence creates eternal dignity. Words can be twisted. Arguments can be mocked. Defenses can be ignored. But dignity? That can't be taken from you unless you give it away. And silence is dignity in action. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When life tests you, silence is your reaction of strength. When people mistreat you, silence is your reaction of restraint. When they expect you to beg, silence is your reaction of dignity. And dignity lasts longer than any argument, because at the end of the day, people may forget your words, but they will never forget how you carried yourself. Your silence becomes your shield. Your silence becomes your crown. Your silence becomes your legacy. The legacy of silence. Let's tie it all together. Silence is not weakness, it's mastery. Silence is not emptiness, it's fullness. Silence is not retreat, it's elevation. Through silence, you've healed yourself. Through silence, you've disciplined yourself. Through silence, you've built inner authority. Now, through silence, you build a legacy where your peace is untouchable, where your presence is powerful, even in absence, where your dignity is eternal. The Stoics lived by this truth. The most powerful person is the one who rules themselves. And silence is self-rule in its highest form. So the next time life pushes you to react, pause. The next time someone disrespects you, pause. The next time you feel the need to explain yourself, pause. Choose silence, not as avoidance, not as weakness, but as a weapon, a shield, a legacy. Because when the world forgets your words, it will still remember your silence. Stoic warrior, you've now walked through the full journey of silence, its strength, its truth, its healing, its discipline, and its legacy. If this series has spoken to you, don't let it end here. Take action. Hit the like button right now so more people discover this wisdom. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment of Stoic strength. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And before you go, drop this final affirmation in the comments to seal this truth within you. My silence is not weakness. My silence is my power, my peace, and my legacy. This is not the end, it is only the beginning of your Stoic journey. Stay silent. Stay strong. Stay free. Until next time, warrior.